So now we can see the class and the structures. Okay, before that's the main concept that will include many other subtopics here. Okay, so so before going to do that, do you have any idea why we are using structure? Sorry, why we are using class instead of a structure in C++? Any idea? Why we are using class?
It has the ability to create multiple instances, and like we can use OOPS concepts to work classes.
Okay. What do you mean by OOPS concepts?
Like encapsulation, binding data.
Okay.
And like inheritance, we can reuse the class, and we can use polymorphism.
Okay. Yeah.
So
then?
To achieve all this, we are using classes instead of a structure.
Okay. And what do you mean by instance creating? What is that? You told that first, right?
Yeah. Like to use this class, like to call all the members and member functions, we have to create an object, right? So we can create multiple objects for that.
Okay. Do you think that is not possible with structure?
I have not worked much on that.
Okay. What else? As you Magesh told, yeah, the binding, yeah, security, yeah, that's fine. Apart from that, do you see any advantage over the class instead of structure?
We can have member functions inside class.
Okay. So you mean we can have a member function inside the class?
Yes.
Okay, let me give you an example. Let's say I have a structure here, right? So do you think this won't work? I don't have a class now, I have a structure here. Do you think this code works? This is a member function, right? Of a test structure. Pawan? So here, as Magesh told, I have one instance, right? Magesh, instance, what do you mean by instance?
It is like a copy of what we have done.
Exactly. Yeah, correct. It's a copy of the objects. Yeah. So what I will do, I will create one object here. Okay, I'm creating an object called t. Okay, I'm calling this function with t.test function. So do you think this code will compile or it will give some error?
It will compile.
Are you sure? Pawan, you told member function is not allowed, right? What do you think on that? Magesh is telling it will compile, and Pawan, what do you think? Will this compile?
Yes, it will compile.
Okay, let's try it. I'll move this. Yes, it does compile. Let me run it. Yeah, test function called. So as you said, member functions is not only in class. Even structure can hold this member function, right?
Yes, but the function is we can restrict the function in the public.
Sorry, Pawan, I think we are hearing some noise. I'm not sure others also hearing, but yeah. So let's do one thing. Just a second. Yeah. Let me connect my Wi-Fi. Power came. Yeah. So everyone, could you see my screen, right?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so so the member function is it can be in class as well as a structure, but the only difference, the visible difference you can see is like this function, anyone can access it inside this program, or if I have another CPP file, from that file I can access the structure. So the problem with this, as Magesh told, we have a data security with this approach actually. Okay, so we can use structure in C, but that structure can be accessed by any code, okay, within our program. That's not what we needed in terms of the data security and privacy. So what we do is, that's why we have a class that has a, we call it as an access specifiers, right? And we have like public, private, and protected. Okay, so if you see, the scope of the public is any class or program can access this. Okay, and if you see private, only member of class can access it. And if you see protected, inherited class can access it. So we have this three advantage here. One is a public. If you keep any function as public, right? Let's say void proc. Okay, so this function, it acts like a structure actually. It's a public, in structure we had a function, right? It acts same to that. It has no data privacy, no security. Any program can access this function. Okay, any structure can access this function. Okay, there is no restrictions. Okay, it's like a public Wi-Fi. Anyone can use it. But if you think of a private, right, only the members of a class can use it. Okay, for example, let's say I have a variable called data. Okay, so I have a data which is private. Okay, so this data can be accessed by, as per the definition, only a member of the class can access it. Okay, so this data is a part of test class. So who are the members for the test class? This function is a member, right? Everyone is the same inside the same class. So this member function can able to access this data. Okay, no other class can access it unless it is a part of the same test class. Okay, we will see example for that. And protected, I will explain you later because it comes under inheritance. Before now, we will see the public and private and what are the difference between that. Okay, and we slowly move to the deep concepts. Okay, so let's create an example program. I'm just printing out the data. So also one more thing, before we learn class, right, we need to learn the constructors and destructors. Okay, so let's remove these things, private, protected, and things. So if you see, the structure of a class is like this actually. You have a class. So in interviews and everywhere, if anyone asks, if you are a fresher especially, if anyone asks like, explain the structure of a class, you should be having a class which has a constructor and a destructor. Okay. I think these things you know already. So I will ask one basic question like, why we need constructor or destructor? Do you have any idea?
Constructor will be called as soon as the object of the class is created by default.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. Called when object of class created. Yeah. Any other points? Why we need it?
To initialize variables.
Yeah. That's a very good point. To initialize. Yeah.
Rahul, a small doubt. Here,
Yeah.
the constructor should be public, right? By default.
Exactly. That's a good catch. Yes. Why the constructor should be public?
If it is private, it can't be accessed, and like the allocation won't be happening.
That's right. So when you are creating object here, like obj, do you think the code will compile or it will give an error? Or the code will compile, but you can't access it?
Yes.
Yes, you mean?
Yeah.
It will compile, but you can't access it?
I think so.
All right. So what others think? Sumit, Shankar, Pawan.
So it takes by default what is a constructor, like a test class constructor.
Okay. So you mean the code will compile, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it will compile, but it will call the default constructor if we not given also. But here, what we have like accessed, these won't be accessed again.
Which one? This one will be accessed?
I think it won't be accessed.
Okay.
Even though we don't call it also, by default class will be having a default constructor, right? So it will be called, I guess.
All right. So let me compile the code. You see this error, right?
Yeah.
Test is a private within a context. It didn't compile. Right? The problem is, if you didn't give any access specifiers, by default, it's private. So as Magesh told, as default, the constructor, if you didn't specify any access specifiers, by default it is taken as private. Okay, but the point which you make wrong is this code will compile, right? No, it won't compile. So let me always remember, so the constructor should be in the public space. As I think Sumit told, right? It will be called only when object is created, right? If the object is created, I'm not creating object inside the class. I'm creating it outside the main class. Okay, it is from somewhere. Let's say this is a different location like Chennai, and I'm calling it from Pune or someone else. Okay, I'm not even a relative for this class. Okay, so I'm calling from this. It's completely different location actually, right? So when you create an object, okay, by default the constructor should be called, but since we don't have this public, right? Now it treat this as a private. Okay, we see previously, right? Only the members of a class can access the private. So this object I'm creating out of main, it is not a member of the class. So it cannot access the constructor. Okay, that's why the constructor should be public when I'm trying to call from different code. Okay, this main function is somewhere in the code, in the memory. This will be somewhere in the memory. I cannot call this directly if it is private, right? Now, if you think, if I run the code, compile command, it runs. If I run the binary, okay, it called a constructor and it calls a destructor. Okay, what do you think? I am not giving any constructor here. Do you think the code will compile? Hello? So in this case, I don't have any constructor. I commented out. So do you think the code will compile?
Yes.
Okay. Let me compile it. Yeah, it does compile. And what if I run the binary? I am printing a destructor. Okay. So I think someone told, right? If you didn't specify any constructor, what compiler will do, right? Compiler will create something like test. So this is a default constructor that compiler will create for you if you don't give anything specifically. Okay. So that's why, but compiler will not put cout for you. So it only creates a default constructor. Okay. That's why your the code is compiling. But still, even though you didn't give this constructor, right? Still, if you create an object, the binary will call this default constructor, which is given by the compiler. Okay. So that's how it works. And the purpose of destructor is to remove the unnecessary memory. Once the class, once we completed this execution, right? Okay, we don't need the memory holding back by constructor. Okay. Generally, constructor will initialize memory allocation and destructor will remove that. Okay. Once the scope of the class is completed, right? So if you don't have a destructor, then the memory will be holded back by constructor, the class, unnecessarily, right? So once the operation is done, so you will be calling this destructor that frees the memory. Okay. So that's why we are using constructor and destructor in the class, actually. Okay. Any doubts?
No.
Okay. So now we move to the next concept called
Why is the compiler adding that constructor, default constructor? What is the design choice?
sorry?
Like, why is the compiler adding the default constructor?
Yeah, that's a good question. See, we are creating object for this class, right? So this object, to get created in the memory, it need a constructor. The constructor will tell the amount of memory inside a class and the other things which is needed for initializing. Okay, so the constructor is needed for using the class members and class data structures. Okay, without constructor, the class will be like junk. You don't know what to do. You don't know where the members are. So always the constructor is mandatory for the class, actually. It is the first function that gets called.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you see the next topic, types of constructors. Okay. We generally use 3 types. One is the default constructor. We're giving us sample code. The second one is parameterized. It's okay. The IntelliSense is helping me out here. It's great. The third one is copy constructor. Yeah, that's great. So, okay, we have 3 constructor types actually. One is a default constructor that compiler creates us for us, all right? So the second one is parameterized constructor. Okay, this will be created by us manually. Okay, what difference is we just have a parameter here. Okay, in default we don't have any parameters, and the parameters constructor will have a parameter here like this, and the parameter can be anything, 1 or 2 or 3 or any type. Okay, and the copy constructor will have a same type as a class name here. Okay, here we don't have an int or float, right? The copy means we are taking an object and we are copying the contents of one object to another object. Maybe I will explain you next class. Okay, so it has this syntax. Okay, maybe we'll first see this too here. In that default constructor, we already have a look on that. Now we see parameterized constructor. How we can call it? Okay. So let me remove this. Now I am creating a parameterized constructor in data, and I am okay. So now I have a parameterized constructor here. I'm having only one parameter here, and I have a cout to print the data here, right? So now I am creating an object called with a class name and giving object as obj. Now I am going to run it. Now I'm getting an error.
We are not passing argument.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yes, good. So if you're not passing an argument, right, what happens? What is trying to do?
See, it is not able to identify like which function is being called.
Okay, function, you mean the constructor?
Yeah.
All right, okay. If you see this error closely, it is pointing at line number 28, right? Line number 28 is here. What it is telling, no matching function call for test scope test. It is showing a default constructor right now. If you see, this is a syntax for default constructor, right? Without parameters. So what it's trying to do is, when you create an object here without a parameter, the compiler expects, okay, the user is trying to create an object without parameter. I should call the default constructor, but it checks for a default constructor, but there is no default constructor anywhere. Okay? But why do you think, even though compiler should create a default constructor, right? Automatically, why it didn't create it here?
Because it has a constructor with the same name.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Every constructor having the same name, default parameter or copy constructor.
Because it has a constructor which has a parameter inside, which is already called explicitly.
Yes, that's right. So when you define the constructor with parameter, right, then compiler will not generate a default constructor by itself. It will say, already you said defined it, why I should define it? So that's why if you create an object, it's expecting a default constructor, but it's not there to call. That's why you're getting an error here. Okay, now as someone told, you should pass a parameter. Okay, now if I compile it, it should compile. Yeah, it did. And if I run it, it runs. Constructor call with data 10, which we pass here. What if I did something like this? Now what happens? Will this get called?
I think both will get called.
Okay.
Only parameter is constructor.
Okay. So Magas is telling both will be get called, and Pawan is telling only parameter will get called. All right. So Magas, why do you think both will get called?
Because here, since the default is initially called, compiler first calls it and then goes to the parameters.
And we are means like creating the constructor, correct? It is not a default.
Okay, yeah. Okay, let me compile the code. If I run it, you can see only this get called
Parameters.
as Pawan told, yeah. Because it will call only one constructor at a time. It will not call multiple constructors.
Okay, like if we given another instance without an parameter, then the other one will be called, right?
Exactly, yes. So per object instance, only one constructor will get called. If you want to trigger default one, then you should be creating another object here that
Got
has
it.
an object. And if you compile it, and both will be get called. Okay, so per object, only one constructor type will be initialized and called. So that's how this the default and parameter constructor works. Any doubts here?
No, it's clear.
No.
Okay. So what if I want to do something like okay, let's say I am creating one header file here. Test.h. Okay. I don't need these files. Okay, I've created another file called select a language C++. Test.h. Okay. So here, what I'm going to do is I am moving this class into a header file. Generally, in the real code base, right, the class will not be defined in CPP files. Okay, the CPP files will only have a function definitions, the logic things. Okay, the class or a structure skeleton will be in the header file only. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm moving this into a header file, and I don't want to define constructor here. What I will do is like I will remove the below one. I will take this one, cut it here, and I will paste it here. So do you think the code will compile? So I have my class here.
No,
Test.
the constructor is not inside any class, right? It won't get compiled.
Okay, but I have a class name here, same as a constructor name, same as a class name here. The compiler won't find it out in that way.
But there is no address mentioning that is a part of class, right? If you want to include, like you should mention that is as a member, right?
Exactly. Then how can you tell the class like I'm defining constructor here?
Like we see in the compiler test :test. If we mention like that, it might work.
All right. Okay, you mean something like test. What do you mean by :? You have a name here.
Scope resolution.
Exactly. Yeah. So do you think now it works?
I never tested it. Like I saw the compiler it going that way, so I thought like.
Yeah, it's correct. What you tell is correct. We need the scope. That's right. If you are defining the constructor outside of the class, then you need a scope resolution operator, the class name and the scope, then the constructor name.
Yeah, usually like when we are like deriving the function, like any function outside the class, we use a same method like this.
Exactly. Then one more question I have, all the functions should have return type, right? Void or int or float, double.
Yeah.
But why the constructor is a kind of a function call, but it doesn't have any return type, right?
Yes. It is a special member function to just initialize the values.
Exactly. So this is a key point. Constructor is it's like a function, but it will not have any return type. Okay. So the formula is remember this always. It really helps a lot. Return type. So remember this formula. If you are defining a class in header file and a function or separate CPP file, this is the syntax you should follow. Return type, class name, scope resolution, function name. And function have any parameters you can define here, else you can leave it empty. So right now with the constructor, we don't have a return type, so we leave it. Class name we mentioned test, we have mentioned scope resolution. Then function name is it's same as a class name, right? We are constructor. So it's a test and the parameters. We don't have any parameters now. We are calling a default one. So we have a default parameters. Okay, let me compile this code. Let's see. No, it still have an error at line number 8 in CPP file. 8 is where this file, right? It tells definition of implicitly declared const expression, something it's telling. It still couldn't recognize the constructor. What do you think may be the problem here?
Declare it inside class.
Yeah, you want me to declare the class? Yeah, Pawan?
Yeah, constructor.
Okay. Something like this?
Yes.
Okay. Let me compile it. Yes, it does. That's a good point. So whenever you are making constructor outside of the class, right, you have to define it as one code. Okay, so this is the correct way. If you are defining inside a class, then no worries. It's very simple and easy. You can do something like this. But most of the case, it will not be like this. If you see a real code base, only the structure will be here. The definitions will be in CPP file. Yeah, so clear until that?
Yeah, it's clear.
Okay, so we end here. In next class, we will see a copy constructor.
Tomorrow it will be at what time?
Sorry?
The next class will be tomorrow, correct?
Yeah.
So it will be at what time?
That's a good question. Can we fix that 11 a.m.?
Yeah, 11 or 12, something like
Yeah,
that.
but can you please make it in the morning, like
Yeah.
better?
11 a.m. in morning, actually. Not night.
Okay, yeah. Thank you.
So fine for everyone, right? 11 a.m. tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Thanks, guys. Thanks for your involvement. Today, many of them have spoken up. Yeah, I'm very happy for that. Yeah. Thanks, guys. See you. Take care.
Okay.
Yeah, Rahul, actually, where can I find the earlier session?
Earlier session, I think Balmiki have recorded it, but it seems to be a corrupted one, right, Balmiki?
Yes, I think I will post it over the social media also. If get some time, then you can check it out and which part is miss on that. Then we can.
Yeah, Balmiki, please share to them if you have that copy.
Okay, fine.
Since I don't have the setup actually, so if I get that, it will be helpful.
Okay, you want to set up, right? The GCC setup?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Okay. In that session, I don't record video for setup. Maybe I will share the link. You just have to install it.
Okay. Yeah, sure. I'll
No
do
worries,
that.
Magesh. I will share you that. Sure.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Okay,
Yep.
then bye-bye.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Thanks all. Bye-bye.